Alright, so I've got the third version of my brackets back now, so I'm pretty sure this is the right ones. As you can see, sent them out, laser cut, CNC folded, just got a gusset MIG welded in them, and then sent them out and got them zinc plated so they just last a lot longer. This is the passenger side one, cut out for the oil filter. So we're going to have a crack at fitting them today. These are the shims. I'll show you where my rack relocation sort of comes closer to the block, and then just going to run socket head cap screws with a flat washer to hold them on, and then my urethane engine mounts for RB20s and 30s. So I've just jacked the engine up under the sump on a piece of timber. I'm just trying to take the weight off it so I can strip the old brackets out and then replace them. So I've already taken the nut off the bottom of the engine mount. So I'll just take the engine mount out, put it somewhere safe. So you can probably see now that we've got the engine bracket out that I've got a 25mm rack relocation in this car. So the rack's moved 25mm forward. And what it's done is, because of the shape of the sump, comes down from the back of the engine to the front to meet the big bulge in the bottom. It's put these areas close to the bottom of the sump. So that's what I've got that 3mm shim for. Try and get that back up. But because it's not going to be the same every car, I've tried to run the engine as low as possible, but with the rack relocation it becomes a little bit of an issue. We'll just work on putting these brackets in now. So if I've done this correct, so you probably can't see it from here, but I've got the engine pulled back as far as I can on the bracket. That's probably making my rack problem a bit bigger, but I'm sure if we shim it, should be sweet. And then you can see at the back of the motor there's a fair bit of clearance. Get 2 fingers in the back. Plenty of room on the bell housing and everything, so it's not too bad. But the main issue was trying to line the shifter up and trying to move as much of the weight back, because the 4 litre is a pretty heavy engine compared to the RB30 that was in it. So we'll throw the shim in and the engine mount back in, and then we can tighten it all up, and I'll move on to the other side. We won't do the engine mount up all the way, just leave it loose in case I have to rock the engine around a bit on the other side to get it done. So we'll go over to the other side now and have a look at that side. Alright, so I moved over to the passenger side. I've jacked it up again. You can see how much clearance there is to the oil filter, but luckily it all fits pretty good. You can't actually, well, I don't think you could probably pull the motor back far enough to get the oil filter to touch the cross member, but with these brackets I haven't allowed it to, so this probably stops you. But we'll get this one out and we'll swap it over. Unfortunately, because of the inlet manifold, you can't actually see much of what you're doing, but give it a go. So we'll try it with very limited space to see anything. Right, so same deal on this side. I'm going to put the shim in, try and get a bit more height, level the engine out. So, there we go. Just drop it off the jack. See, it fits pretty good. You can see, come around, that's how much space we got around the oil filter, so it's not too bad. I'll show you underneath in a minute. It's pretty tight everywhere, but it's not too bad. So you got a bit of space for a radiator, so and then you can see under my Costco strap brace there. It's not too bad. I'd probably trim that off if I had to. And that's where the loom bolts in across the top. So having a look under the car now, you can see haven't cut the sump's still complete, one piece as they come. But you can see that I don't run a front sway bar. I believe the front sway bar used to run across in between the first two ribs, so you could cut and shut the sump if you really wanted to run one. This car's pretty heavy sprung with this HSD, so I don't think not running a sway bar would be a disadvantage in this car, even though it's suddenly got a lot of extra weight in the front now. But hopefully you can see the clearance to the cross member, get your fingers in it and above it, so it's not too bad there. We'll see if we can go around the back. And that's pretty much the oil filter clearance when you look at it from below. So you should be able to get the oil filter out underneath the caster bracket and outside there, so it's actually worked out pretty good. Right, from the back, see that the rack is probably the biggest issue. There's a few different diameters in this rack, so it's hard to preempt which one it's going to be in a car, so I've sort of gone with this one, which is the largest one. But yeah, the other issue that I've got is that the rack's moved forward to stop all the steering bind and in the lock setup, so it's, instead of the rack being back here in the higher part of the sump, it's moved well forward towards the main pan, so it's running out of space, and that's why it's sort of shimmed it a bit. And then you come around to the driver's side. You see this is the part that's the biggest worry. Having semi-solid engine mounts should not make it an issue. Worst case is we'll probably just shim it some more. It's just the odd design that Nissan have, that it's not actually center where this knuckle is, so it's probably more to do with the steering box that's in it. But yeah, So it does fit, not too bad. I'll show you the starter location on the firewall. So it's still not too bad. If you think that's a bit of a drama, you could probably pull the engine a bit further forward. I've got it pretty much sitting not as far back as it could go, but it's pretty close to as far back as it would go. And then you can see the shift is roughly here in the back of the thing, so it's pulled back as far as I think I could get it, to be able to try and move as much of the weight backwards as possible. So this is the first attempt at a folded gearbox mount. I actually folded it the wrong way, so instead of folding down and up, I folded it up and down. So in Nissans, depending on which transmission they come out, will depend on which mount's higher than the other. So this shell's an auto shell, so the driver's side is closer to the ground than the passenger side, and I've folded it the wrong way around, so I've had to cut and shut it to get it to fit. But the offset and the centers are right to the drawing. I've just folded it the wrong way, not thinking. Still got to check the alignment of the tail shaft and everything, to make sure that's all sweet before I get committed in folding 10 of these things up. But still runs the forward mount, and then it's just got to fold the bracket that'll bolt into a Nissan. So you're going to run a big stifter in it. It's 6mm plate, so it's pretty strong already, but when I get it folded the right way and then run the stifter in it across the front here where there's a lot of real estate to weld, it'll be rock solid. So, and then you should be able to still keep a 2-piece tail shaft. I'm still hopeful of keeping a 2-piece sharp tail shaft, and just get the front section cut down and hopefully get this machined up and welded into the front of it, so it still works sort of like a Nissan tail shaft. But yeah, you can see that I've pulled the engine back, so I've got it all the way back on the slots of the engine bracket, and then I've got it all the way back in the slots of the gearbox crossmember also. Everything does kind of hang. You can sort of see the bottom of the gearbox sort of hangs a bit lower than the crossmember, and then looking at the sump, you can sort of see the sump hangs down a good 15mm below the crossmember, so don't go hella flush, otherwise you might lose a bit of the sump. I've been thinking about making a bash plate to suit it and just having it fold in the back and then fold up in the front, but we'll see what the ride height is. Typically Skylines can't run that low. The upright bottoms out in the chassis, so kind of limits how much you can slam them. Probably a good thing for a Barra conversion. So yeah, we'll work on some new parts and we'll go from there. Thanks for watching. So if you've already got aftermarket RB mounts and you want to run the brackets, I've taken some consideration and designed these so they will fit an original RB engine mount. So if you've got an aftermarket one that fits, it should fit as well. So that's always good, so you don't have to go buying new engine mounts to suit your swap.